What up, ref leaders? Welcome back to my channel. We find ourselves back in Kingston, Georgetown, Guyana. That building is at the corner of Camp Street and Seawall Road. That is the new CID, Criminal Investigation Department, that's being built. And just wanted to bring you down here so you can see the civil engineering works that are being done at the seafront. So since the last time we were here, the civil engineers have been piling rocks along the beach to protect the coast. Now the sea is out, so it's low tide. It's about 7:30 in the morning. It's a Tuesday morning, or is it Wednesday? Here in Georgetown, Guyana. And there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about as I show you some of these developments. One of them has to do with national security. So a few weeks ago, the US Navy did a flyover of Georgetown. So there is ongoing cooperation between the Guyana Defense Force and the US military. And I think I mentioned this some time ago in the previous videos when I attended one of the Army's Vendor Day sessions at the Princess Hotel on the East Bank, right near Providence. And if you go back, I don't know if I posted videos about that. I think I may have posted some reels and some shorts. But so I attended the Army Vendor Day here in Georgetown. So what has happened since the last time we were here, let me get back to talking about the beach, is they trucked in tons and tons of white sand. Now there's still a problem with garbage here on the sea, on the beach, on the seashore. And there's some developments. So the last time we were here, they were still completing that building. So this is the concession stand. It's closer to completion now. They've built some, I think the last time we were here they had already built these shaded parts of the promenade. This is the esplanade, right? But I wanted to show you what's happening here. There's this two-story, three-story concession stand. That building is closer to completion. The building behind it, that one is the office of DPP. They've actually put some paint on it. It's still not yet completed. This is the seawall bandstand, and it has been renovated again. It seems to need renovation every year. Thankfully this year they're keeping up with the renovations. And that's the Pegasus Suites and Corporate Center here on the promenade. So as I was saying, they trucked in some sand and rehabilitated some of the beach front here with white sand, and they built this barrier of stones. Now they actually built this barrier for about a quarter of a mile in both directions from here. Previously these jetties, these walls projecting into the ocean, into the sea, were the only barriers at this point, and they're here because they limit or they mitigate erosion, beach erosion, right? Because you can see on one side of the beach it's washed away, On the one side of the jetty, it's washed away, and on the other side of the jetty, the beach is much more extensive. So they put some, that is the civil engineers, put some rocks, built piles of rocks along the beach to help mitigate, slow down erosion, beach erosion. And that's the Pegasus Suites and Corporate Center from the beach. A view of the view of the Pegasus Suites and Corporate Center from the beach. So yeah, what I was saying about the security situation is that the Guyana Defense Force has been running military operations, training programs with the US military. In this case, it was the Navy, the US Navy, and they flew a pair of F-18 or those Hornets, a pair of F-18 Hornets. Now I wasn't prepared for this because I hadn't seen the announcement in the news until afterwards, but there was this loud roar, right, the screaming engines, because they were flying like about 1,000 feet over Georgetown. And so when I came to my front door, I saw this pair of military jets turning a wide arc over the city and leaving a loud noise, trail of noise behind. And immediately I thought maybe Venezuela is invading. But then I took a closer look at the jets, because they were in the air for about I saw them for about 10 seconds, 5 or 10 seconds before they disappeared over the horizon. They flew out over the Atlantic Ocean. Morning. So I quickly realized that they were US military and not Venezuelan military. So for those of you who haven't been following the developments in the past, year or so, Venezuela has been amassing troops at the border with Guyana, with Essequibo, and they're continuing to build up military bases out there across the Cayuny River, or the river between Venezuela and Guyana. So what has happened is that they were starting to build a bridge. Now, none of this ever makes the news. You kind of have to pick it up from other sources. So they were starting to build a bridge across the river to Guyana. Remember, the Venezuelan president, Nicolas Maduro, already declared that Essequibo is part of Venezuela. So he was trying to make it accessible, because the Venezuelan president has already made it clear, or encouraged Venezuelan companies to explore for natural resources, oil and gold and diamonds and so on, in Essequibo, which is our territory, and it's also rich in mineral resources. Like I said, this is what they did in the last 6 months or so. They built up this wall. I'm actually showing you, this is a wall of stones, and I'm showing you how the civil engineers have been engineering or mitigating beach erosion here at Kingston Beach. Right, so since 2022, I think, when I first attended those Army Vendors Day sessions, the US military has been running joint operations with the Guyana Defense Force. And so I believe in response to Venezuela's recent aggressions, that's building a bridge over the river to Essequibo and building military installations along the Venezuelan border with Guyana, the US military has decided to step up their operations with the Guyana Defense Force. And that is how the flyover took place. So here in fact is continuation of the engineering works. So this is this pile of rocks along the shore here. This is new. This has been completed in the last 2 to 3 months, and the whole point is to protect the soil from beach erosion, the sand here from beach erosion. So in addition to building, that is refurbishing that hut and installing, that is a washroom along the promenade and so on. The government has been building up the beach, that is securing the waterfront here with stones. So this pile of rocks, this is recent. They put the Civil Engineers Department to work, and they built this barrier to the beach here in front of the Marriott Hotel. So this is all new, right? But let me continue the story I'm telling. So the US military and the Guyana Defense Force have been running joint operations for the past 2 years or so. And that's because of the building tensions between Guyana and Venezuela. And so when the 2 FA-18 Hornets flew over Georgetown, it was in fact a planned operation. They were coming off of a US aircraft carrier, a Navy aircraft carrier that was stationed out in the Atlantic Ocean. So those jets came in, flew into Timehri Airport, which, as I said in previous videos, was a US military base during the Second World War. So the US operations in South America and in Guyana in particular is not new. So when those jets flew over my house in Georgetown, it was part of a planned operation. Nevertheless, it was quite loud and disconcerting because a lot of people weren't prepared for it. So some people came to the doors, came out on the streets and so on. And the point I'm making in this video is that while on the one hand it is good to establish military cooperation with the US in this
distance 3 miles, duration 54 minutes 55 seconds, pace 25 minutes 2 seconds per mile.
Alright, that's looking back where we came from. That's Pegasus Suites Corporate Center in the old Pegasus. You can see behind this wall of rocks. That's the Marriott Hotel, which you can see behind this wall of rocks. So while I'm saying it's a good idea for Guyana, the Guyana Defense Force to be in cooperation with the US military, nevertheless, this is a situation with Venezuela that we have to live with continuously. And no doubt it has something to do with the oil and gas industry, which ExxonMobil dominates. Actually, ExxonMobil is a 75% investor in the oil and gas industry in Guyana. China National Offshore Oil Company, CNOOC, is the 25% stakeholder in ExxonMobil's oil and gas operations in Guyana. So while that is the case, it is not in our interest to get into a fight with Venezuela. And we have traditionally used diplomatic means to solve our problems, right, using the United Nations, whereas the US has used their military force to solve problems. The problem with having the Air Force, that is the US Navy, flying their jets over Georgetown, Guyana, is that it conditions people to accept military aggression as normal, so it sort of normalizes this aggressive stance, which is not normal for Guyana, right? And what it does is that later on, when the US is no longer an ally of Guyana, because of course the US only looks out for its own interest, as long as they can extract resources and make a profit, that's how they do business in the world, right? So inevitably what happens is that the US changes sides, as they did with Iraq and so on. But in the meantime, we have conditioned our population, Guyanese people, to accept this more aggressive posture, which is not a Guyanese posture, it's a US posture. And that's not a good influence over Guyana, because now when the US starts dropping bombs, they could be dropping on Georgetown, or they could be dropping on Venezuela, but Guyana is now involved. And that's the problem I have with it. It's not a simple and straightforward operation. It has to do with a national strategy for diplomacy and for peace. And since we are not a traditional war-fighting nation, we have not fought any international wars, it's actually inadvisable for us to take that stance now. Right? The problem is that we don't have the kind of deep thinkers running this country who are able to look long term at what the outcome for US involvement, engagement with Guyana will be, and the extent to which we should limit this kind of engagement. My position is that Guyana, or this region of the world, should remain peaceful, right? We should remain peaceful. We should also always use diplomatic means to solve our problems. And having the US military flying over Georgetown is a departure from that posture, and it's not a comforting feeling, right? In other words, when I saw those jets flying over my house in Georgetown, I did not feel comforted, I did not feel elation, I did not feel as if I was more secure from Venezuela. What I felt is that violence was in the air, that what is coming in the future is likely to be a violent war, because that is how the US military solves US problems. That's it, guys. That's what's happening in this neck of the woods. Just wanted to show you what's happening over here at the ocean front, the seafront here at Kingston, where the civil defense, that is the Guyana's civil engineering department, built this new retaining wall along the beach. And that's how they're transforming the city. More videos to come in the future. I'm going to chronicle, the whole point of these videos is to show you how Guyana is changing in the era of oil and gas. In fact, it's rapid growth. Right over there, that's the over there, that's an island, a new island that was constructed, was built for the oil and gas industry. It's a sort of shore base operations. So these videos are meant to chronicle the changes, the developments here in Guyana, and the civil engineering works at the beach.
Attention,
is
low
one of
battery.
the most recent. If you want to see more content like this, click like and subscribe. Share this video with friends and family around the world. Let people know what's happening here in Georgetown, Guyana, the fastest growing economy in the world. Later!